So, why don't we get going here and join me in welcoming from REO Speedwagon, Kevin Cronin, Neil Dowdy, Bruce Hall, Dave Amato, and Brian Hitt, REO Speedwagon. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. I have to let you know, now, REO does their first performance today at 5:30 on the deck stage. And Kevin likes to, he rests his voice on show days, which I guess is part of the reason why he's been doing it so long and still doing it at the pace he is doing it at. So we'll have some fun with Kevin. He might not answer as much, but he'll be participating. So, gentlemen, first of all, this is a history-making day because congratulations, this is your first interview under the new administration. And I guess it's mine too, actually. But I do want to start with some big news because 2017, Neil, I'm going to start with you. Now, we talk about congratulations. This is a big one. 50 years of REO Speedwagon.
Yep, I have been in this band my whole life, starting when I was 1 year old.
You know, one of the questions everybody seems to always ask is, you know, did you ever think it would last this long? But I won't go there. But what actually has kept you going and kept this going for you?
You know, it's sort of a perpetual motion thing that we got caught up in, and it never stopped. And it's kind of a strange thing because you don't really think, nobody starts a rock band thinking it's going to allow them to do this like basically their whole life. And you keep waiting for that day when they go, guess what, nobody wants to come see you anymore. And that, so far, that day hasn't come up. So, so you just don't turn down a job like this, you know, because you.
You know, I was also thinking last night that that ever since I joined the band, I remember we had a band meeting, and the band meeting was about whether or not we were throwing too many guitar picks out into the audience. This was 1972 when we couldn't afford to buy extra guitar picks. And I remember Alan, the original drummer, came down on the side of we should limit the amount of free souvenirs that we throw away. And Gary, our dear departed guitar player, he came down. Yeah, give it up for Gary. Gary came down on the side of, no, it's a great idea. The guitar picks have the logo on it. This is a way of spreading the word, you know. And I remember I was brand new in the band, and I remember thinking that REO Speedwagon had an uncanny ability to find balance within the band. And we had different opinions. We were not all on the same page all the time, but we gave each other the opportunity to express ourselves. Everyone's opinion was respected, and between the band, we would come up with a solution. And as I've thought about that last night, especially in the context of what's happening in the United States right now, I think that the fact that we've been able to survive for 50 years, it's a good example for kind of a balance that needs to be struck in America, and I think it's possible.
I didn't think I was going to be able to have him keep his mouth shut.
We were hoping.
You know, I'm going to say something that the two gentlemen on the end really want to hear because I guess technically they're still the new guys. But you know what's interesting? This has been the longest consistent lineup of REO Speedwagon since 1989. So we're talking almost 30 years. That's great. Bruce, if I could throw it over to you for a second. Tell me what it is about Dave and Brian and what they brought to the band. I mean, because look, there was a time things were changing, you know, other music was becoming more popular and classic rock was kind of sort of ebbing and flowing but fading a little bit, and then these two gentlemen came on board and actually it did seem to revitalize the band.
Yeah, actually, we love Dave and Brian.
I paid him.
I paid me $5.
Paid him to say something nice.
Well, these guys actually, there was a time when REO was in the late 80s. We were doing, the entertainment field goes up and it goes down. Boys, everything kind of goes up and down. We were going down and kind of looking for, Kevin and I had a thing called the Strolling Dudes going that was kind of taken off. It was just a whim, but it was starting to be fun, and REO was kind of taking almost a back seat at that point in time. Anyway, so we started, somebody said, oh, it was Jesse. Jesse came along, and he was writing songs with Kevin, and we started going to the studio, and he says, because we were using some of the musicians from the Strolling Dudes, which was kind of different than what REO does right now. And we started cutting tracks, and Jesse, especially Jesse, went, this is not REO, this sounds like Strolling Dudes, and it really kind of, that's what it was. Anyway, so he says, we got to get rid of the drummer, and we need a guitar player. And that's kind of what happened. Jesse knew Dave, and we tried out Dave at an audition in Los Angeles, and we knew right off the bat that Davey was the guy. And you can tell when you hear him play.
You need to give him the money back, Dave.
Yeah. I got to get more money. More money.
And then Brian came along. We had a situation where we needed a drummer too, so we had this tryout. How many guys showed up? Like at least 5.
8. Oh, no, yeah, it's a lot.
And Brian was our first one, and he killed it. So we tried out a couple more and went, why are we even trying anymore? Let's just, Brian's our guy. So that was...
There was a bunch of guys in the waiting room, and they said, do we have to try another drummer? I'm like, well, look, these guys brought their drum kits. We have to go. But we knew Brian was,
And we went right
Brian
into
was
the
the
studio.
man.
We went directly into the studio.
Yeah, that's right.
We did.
Got a record.
We cut a record right off the bat.
89.
Which nobody ever got to hear, hardly.
It was a good record, too.
It was a great
And
record.
you know, Dave and Brian, I want to throw it to you guys now. So you came in to this established band, obviously. You know, it's well proven that you both injected a good fresh batch of energy. But what was your initial approach? Because you know, you obviously know the catalog, but you also want to bring your own personalities to it. So how difficult of a transition is that for you guys?
Well, I think, you know, the guys hired us to, you know, carry on the tradition of REO, but also for our input. And you know, obviously I have a different style than Alan did, what I call more a bottom-up approach, you know, where the kick drum is that's the anchor and everything up here is the icing on the cake, where Alan kind of had a different style. He was more, you know, top down, you know, playing a lot of stuff up here, but not the,
Right.
you know, hit you in the gut kind of vibe. But at the same time, you know, we wanted to honor what went before us, so you had to pick your spots where you could change things a little bit, but not make it something that it wasn't. And so I think Dave and I have both done a good job of showing that, you know, we honor the music and the guys who came before us, but we also have put our stamp on it.
Yeah, we respect the guy, you know, yeah. We respect, you know, the two guys that were in there before that you know, paved the path for us, which we're lucky, you know, for. And, you know, myself, and I felt like Gary was a a rocker, you know, and I kind of fit right in there, taking his place, you know, and like Brian said on you know, his solos, like Can't Fight This Feeling, you tip my hat to him, and I can't play, I don't want to play anything different because you guys would know that, I'd say, what is he doing? He's not playing the right solo, so, you know, we have to, you know, we're like, idiot. So, you know, we tip our hat to the guys that went before us, and we love them too. It's all a family here at REO. So, you know, try to do a good job, and like Brian said, you know.
And the longer we've been in the band, because Dave and I are now 27 plus years, you know, it's
Yikes.
become more of our own. I mean, we both own the parts now. You know, it's not.
We're thinking
like
about starting to pay them.
And we've and
We're trying to get paid now. We're trying to get paid after 27 years.
Pretty soon we're going to pay
yeah,
you
it would be
guys.
nice. You know,
Yeah.
luckily we're independently wealthy.
We
so,
told them when they
that's
joined,
kind of
you know,
worked out good too.
We can't pay you anything at first.
Right.
And then we kind of, nobody ever wrote
They
it
fed
up.
us for 27 years.
But you know what? There was a fan who summed up the whole thing. One of the first shows we played with Dave and Brian, after the show in a meet and greet, this one fan walked up to Dave and Brian and he said, "You guys didn't hurt nothing." And
nothing.
That was our goal. That's our goal ever since then.
That's our
We
motto.
think that was a compliment.
We go on stage and we just try not to ruin anything. So
Every night. Like tonight.
All right. Well, I don't normally ask questions that solicit yeses or nos, but since you have the pad in hand there, Kevin, I'll real quick. You did mention the sad passing of Gary, so real quick, how's Alan doing?
Alan,
Oh, you could have written it down. And while he writes that down,
Was that a yes or no question?
well, okay,
Yes.
doing good.
Yes, good.
Very cool. 2016 was a great year for REO. You were out on the road here in the state, well, back there in the States with Def Leppard and Tesla, and you ended with Status Quo in England. And for those who don't know, Status Quo, these guys have actually, they shared the stage with Status Quo, albeit over two continents, because Status Quo opened up Live Aid in 1985 in London, and of course REO performed at Live Aid in Philadelphia. So they actually have been on the same bill before, but they did tour all of England, and it ended in Liverpool, where the band got to check off one of the items on a bucket list, which I know, Kevin, you were excited about. You have to rest your voice. I know the other guys know about it. So who wants to tell that story about the whole Liverpool experience and what you got to do on stage that night?
well, we spent the whole day taking the actual tourist tour, the Magical Mystery Tour, where they put you on a bus, they take you to where Paul McCartney grew up, where John Lennon grew up. They show you the house where Ringo was born, which is just barely standing at this point, and probably the same about the house where I was born. But
same for Ringo himself. But
yeah, right. but we, you know, we saw all that. I mean, they all grew up in the same general neighborhood, and you know, there's the church fellowship hall where John and Paul met, and then after that, of course, we went to the Cavern Club, which was, you know, we have a history in Champaign, Illinois, a club called the Red Lion, where, all right. And we used to rehearse there. The owner let us rehearse, and we practically wrote a whole album just during rehearsals there. Well, the Cavern Club in Liverpool was sort of the Beatles' Red Lion. So we all went down there and looked around at, you know, it's like 2 floors underground. And so we got a real feel for, you know, and the Beatles are important. They're part of why this boat is full of bands today, because they just made everybody want to be a rock musician, and there was so much good music that came out. the 70s and 80s were the kids that saw the Beatles and decided they were going to give that a try themselves. And I've always thought that was part of the Beatles' most important contribution. They just made everybody want to try this. And, you know, and quite a few people actually did something with it. So it was kind of good to see where the roots of what we're doing came from. Just all one little normal-looking neighborhood in Liverpool, England. So.
But the bucket list was we. It was the last show of the tour, end of the year, and here we are in Liverpool. We're all huge Beatle fans, and about halfway through our set, it kind of occurred to me that we have an opportunity to really do something kind of special. So, but we also had a 60-minute set that we couldn't stretch. So we, at the last minute, we decided to drop Time for Me to Fly out of our set list.
You decide.
Yeah, I did.
We never know what he's going to do next.
And instead, I went into the opening chords of Saw Her Standing There. So we got to play a Beatles song on stage in Liverpool, and it was fucking amazing. Wait, can I say fuck on a boat?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We're in international waters
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Anything goes now. That is a great story. You know, I'm always amazed when I see artists jump up on stage, and sometimes, look, we know it's kind of planned and that there's been a little run through, but there have been occasions where an artist will just literally just show up and the main performer has no idea they're going to be there, and I always kind of find it interesting how they just sort of fall into place and can find their way. I imagine that song, was it easy to pick up and play? Because it sounds like there was no rehearsal of it.
We've done it before.
We know it.
Yeah, we kind of.
We know a lot of Beatles songs.
Yeah, we kind of we knew. Yeah, we did. We know a lot of different Beatles songs.
Okay. That's cool. And I saw Dave, you posted a photo of you in the Cavern Club there on
But
your Facebook.
Kevin,
Yeah, we're Beatle nuts.
he's
Well,
one.
I am.
We never know exactly what he's going to do. So on stage,
We know every song in the world.
just in case.
Got to keep these boys on their toes.
Boy, do you
know?
ever.
So if Kevin's voice goes out tonight because he's talking here, Inagata Davida,
You're the lead singer.
got it?
Sure.
Freebird, one of those.
Yeah.
If you see that move a lot tonight, you'll know why.
And you guys are no strangers to cruise ships. You've done a ship or two before. What's the whole experience like? Just one? Yeah. What? I mean, so far, smooth sailing here.
Yeah.
It hardly feels like we're moving. I still haven't felt movement on the boat yet. This
Yeah,
is a
right.
smooth riding boat. I'll
The
tell
first
you.
one we were on, the mics. I remember being on stage and you were like, trying to find it. That was.
Except right about, I think I fell asleep about 1 a.m. and about 1:15, I was startled into consciousness by the opening chords of Sweet Home Alabama. So, and then Freebird. So I was up until about 4. Thank you, Artemis.
I will warn you now, Saturday night, the Marshall Tucker Jam, you won't be going to sleep. Neil, I want to come back to you for a second. Having, this is my career, is to, interview artists and report on what you guys are doing to radio stations all across the country. So some things I do take for granted. I was on a Moody Blues cruise a couple years ago doing the same thing. And somebody asked me, why don't you ask them how they came up with the name Moody Blues? And I'm like, really? I would have thought that, everybody knows that. So folks have actually approached me. The name REO Speedwagon, which at one point was R.E.O. You're out? Okay, can't answer that one on a piece of paper. So,
Well, that happens to be the only thing I learned in college. I was supposed to be some sort of engineer, electrical engineer, and somewhere along the line, we accidentally started a rock band. And one thing that I learned before the band took up more of my time than going to class, I was in a history of transportation class, and like the very day we decided to name the band, we'd been playing in the dorm, but we thought somebody actually hired us for $40 to play at a fraternity food fight. And the power of advertising. We actually put an ad in the paper. And so we're going to need a name if we're going to start working and advertising. And I walked into the transportation class that next day, and REO Speedwagon was written all the way across the board. And it turns out it was a landmark in the history of trucking, because it was a flatbed, heavy-duty truck that was still powerful enough to go at a good speed, which they used they outfitted them as fire trucks a lot, because all that heavy equipment, fire trucks used to, by the time they put everything on them that you would need to put out a fire, the truck would go about 3 miles an hour, which isn't, perfect. If the fire is only 3 miles away, you're not going to get there in time. So this was considered a very important milestone, and we went, well, it's fast and powerful and heavy duty, and it puts out fires. So perfect name for a rock band. We've put out a few fires ourselves.
Started a few as well.
yeah, started quite a few.
Actually, we start the fires and our manager puts them out, but we've never been kicked out of a country or off of a boat, so.
Well, there you go.
I think you have been kicked out of a few hotels, though, right?
That's true, yes. More than one on the same night.
Kevin, I've got one that requires you to either write it down or nod your head, so I'll ask it. It's from Timothy Finn, who's a passenger here on the boat, and he says he misses the big brown rock and roll fro, but is it true that blondes have more fun?
I think I still have that a bag of hair that was that we actually we're actually trying to talk Dave into cutting his hair when he first joined the band, and so we went down to this fancy salon in Beverly Hills, and Dave was reluctant to do the deed. So
Boy, we got to go there.
yeah.
Boy.
So I was like, well, all right, I'll go first. So I sat down, the guy cut all my hair off, and then Amato split.
It was great, though. The whole band went in for haircuts together. It was like the Three Stooges or something.
Well, you look like Frankie Avalon when you got done.
I sang like him too.
I remember Bruce bailing on that one pretty much, too.
No, they let him off the hook.
Yeah, they let me off the hook.
And
They
that
put me in
made
the
me
chair.
mad. Because they let Bruce off the hook, but they say, Dave, you got to get a haircut, but Bruce, you can stay. I'm like, what the hell? That's not
In
fair.
fact, he moved
Dave,
to Florida to get away from.
You were the new guy. Come on.
It's still the new guy.
Who got it into your heads that you all had to go for haircuts? Because that's not a band decision. So it must have been a changing of the times, and some consultant and or manager said, you got to fit in now.
No, it was James Hetfield. When James got his hair cut, it was like, wait, if James can have short hair,
A
so can we.
Metallica. Yeah, Metallica, right.
Just trying to keep up. Mine was falling out by then, so I didn't care.
That's a great story, James. James Hetfield and REO Speedwagon. Yeah, doing all right. Yeah, you'll have the least worries on the deck tonight if the wind kicks up. You'll be fine, yeah. Don't worry about that.
Well, I'm holding on to it to make sure no more blows out.
It's interesting because like Peter Frampton, it was a live album that actually put you guys over the top, or kind of broke you through, if you will. The album I'm referring to, of course, is Live You Get What You Play For. Was it difficult to convince the label heads at that time to say, hey, no, please stick with us, watch, we're going to show you? And I would imagine the response was, really, a live album? But, live albums actually kind of meant something back then.
Well, a reason for that, too, was that we had gone through a lot of producers, and producers have a way of putting their own stamp on the record, and sometimes that really works, and sometimes it doesn't. And we didn't feel like a producer had captured our true essence onto a disc. And we were more known as a live band than as having a lot of top 40 hits. And we thought, well, what we do best is live, so that's probably the way we would sound the best on a record. And they, I wouldn't say the label completely trusted us to pull that off, but that's when Gary and Kevin sort of took over the production, and we just did what we do live without trying to add any crazy studio stuff to it.
But we do have Peter Frampton to thank, because it was Peter whose live album actually, broke him. And so when that kind of gave us the idea, and Gary had a pretty face, kind of like Peter did, so plastered that on the album cover. And the record label was like...
My face was really little on that cover.
Hey, no comment.
Because you didn't go for a haircut. It's a very different, the music industry is extremely different. Probably no one could have even predicted back in 1967 what it has become and turned into. Having said that, thoughts on recording new material versus just touring, and I want to throw it kind of over down to Dave and Brian, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but since you guys have joined, the band has actually only recorded 4 albums, and I'm sure there's probably a part of you that would like to probably do some more new material, but the reality of the situation is it is a different world.
Well, yeah, the record industry has definitely changed. You put your heart and soul into, your babies, you write these songs and you spend money on recording, and now, people are downloading one song for 99 cents. It just doesn't make sense right now to do a new, I guess we could go in there and do a song or two and, put it out, but you can't really, the whole thing has changed. You can't really make any money on records, and nobody's really buying records right now. They're just downloading one song and then giving it to the friends, and it's good for us to maybe keep it going with our live thing. Have a new song and you play it live, and that's basically what you do now.
Yeah.
Part of it is radio's fault, or not maybe fault, but they've
Absolutely.
It's all your fault.
I do not disagree.
They won't play. You won't play.
They've steered things in such a way that they'll play, Time for Me to Fly. They'll play Keep on Loving You. They'll play the hits on classic rock radio. They don't want to know about a new REO song. They really don't give a shit about that. So. That's
can you say
been tough.
ship?
It's not only tough for us, but all
He said
classic
ship.
rock. I said ship, yeah. They don't give a shit about that.
Ship.
Yeah. So, so it's hard. You like Dave said, you put your heart and soul into something, and you work for months and months, and
believe in it.
and you put it out, and you feel good about it, and there is no avenue for it to be played.
Yeah. Now, when I send these...
Thanks for that.
Yeah, well, no, I send these reports to radio stations all around the country. I'm not a disc jockey on any particular station, but that is the sad reality. They're only playing the classics, and they'll mention the new stuff. And to me, this is my opinion only, it should not be a classic rock station based on classic rock songs. It should be a classic artist station based on those artists' careers.
Yeah.
That's how
I agree.
that's what I would do.
We could use a guy like you in our organization.
Songwriting is still happening. People love to still, I mean, Kevin loves to write, I like to write. I mean, we still love that. That was one of the things we had to get good at in order to keep making records. That doesn't just go away.
You see, this is a rarity because these folks are not on this cruise because it's a cruise and it's sunshine. They're on here because they are music fans. These people live, eat, and breathe this stuff. And, and they know, as well as I do as being a journalist who covers folks like yourselves, that some of you guys are continuing to make some of the best music you've ever made. But the corporate powers that be feel differently, and it's sad. But
you know, also, I know that these people have certain songs that they want to hear when they come to a concert, and which one of those are you going to leave out to put in something that they haven't heard? I mean, it's better to let a song become a little bit known. I mean, downloads can make a song become well known.
Sure.
And once an audience is familiar with a song, it sounds better because they know what they're hearing. The lyrics don't get lost in the reverberation. And so I wouldn't want to, leave out the songs people came to hear just to do a bunch of new ones. I think one new one would be very appropriate. And and especially that's the way people buy songs now, one at a time. I know I switched to downloads very, very quickly. Well, because you put your own album together. You go to a group's whole catalog and you put your favorite 20 songs on a CD and listen to it in your car all day. Just giving the power to the audience to put together a set list that they would like to hear live. I don't forget who's paying me, Thanks,
well, they say the toughest part is not actually putting, is what songs to leave out is the toughest part of putting together a set list.
Right.
I've heard a lot of artists say that.
Absolutely, yeah. And, you can have a pretty decent new song. I mean, well, which one are we going to leave out for that? Because they're going to be upset if they don't hear, Time for Me to Fly or something. So that's the balancing act.
It's always amazing because you go to see bands like yourself, and in the case of REO Speedwagon, you're sitting there, and all of a sudden it's Keep On Loving You, Can't Fight This Feeling, Roll With the Changes, Take It on the Run, In Your Letter, Keep the Fire Burning, and that's only the tip of the iceberg, and you're like, Jesus.
Don't say iceberg.
No, yes. You'll get a lot of airplay then.
Whoa.
Ouch. But it is incredible. It really is, and absolutely right. What to leave out when you have such a catalog of songs that have shaped the soundtrack of so many people's lives.
It wouldn't be the first time we had a set go down like the Titanic, but.
Let me rephrase that by saying a lot more airplay.
Oh,
How about that?
All right.
A lot more airplay, because there is not a day that doesn't go by where you don't hear yourselves on the radio. And actually, can you remember the first time you heard yourselves on the radio?
I will say that I don't remember the first time, but you might think that after all these years, you kind of become jaded to it. I swear to God, when one of our songs comes on the radio, if I'm in the car by myself, I frickin' crank it up and groove out of that. And it's like, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? I mean, now, if I'm in the car with my family, of course, my wife turns it off, but...
You ever pull up to a red light and somebody in the car next to you grooving to your music?
Well, I can't say that, but I do love the feeling of driving along in my car with the radio on, whether it's one of our songs or another song that I like, and you just look around you and you know that there's other people in other cars who are listening to that same song at the same time. And it's that, to me, I don't necessarily like downloading music and putting in my own set list. I like listening to the radio, seeing what's going over the airwaves, 'cause it's a connection to other people who are listening to that same station at that same time. And I like that. It's like it affects, yeah, it affects that caveman part of the brain that's about sitting around the campfire, you know, and it's a connection with other people that I really enjoy.
Yeah, it's instantaneous. I mean, it is immediate.
Yeah,
That is-
shared experience.
That is the beauty of radio. So 50 years, anything special planned that you can kind of clue us in on? I mean, we'll be seeing some archival releases. Are there a lot of things in the vaults for you guys?
I think, well, we are now appearing on a pizza commercial on your local television station, and I think there's a cat food one in there.
Yes, you're Keep On Loving You in a Domino's ad, and Can't Fight This Feeling in the Sheba cat food. And if Trump continued to have his way, roll with the changes at the national convention. But
Well, that'll be pizza for cats. Gonna use that
We
song.
do have a
Pizza for cats.
we do have a tour that's coming up next year but we can't talk about it because
It's
we're
actually
not
this
supposed
year
to.
now. It's
Oh, this year.
This year, this
oh,
summer.
we're in 2017.
Oh, I thought it was 2000. I thought we had this year off. No? No? Oh.
We told you that.
Well,
We do have a top secret summer tour.
Oh, cool.
Which
Well,
which
that's
everybody's gonna really enjoy.
oh, great. Well, you know, you guys are always known, again, for making the summer run. And then it's always great because you do those shows where you team up with a bunch of other acts and give just this great value for money. But then you come around in the fall or sometimes early spring, and it's always that, you know, complete night of REO, which is great. So it's a wonderful balance.
Yeah, we like to play different venues. We play rooms that are this size several times a year, just because it's a whole different experience. We started out as a bar band, and you kind of like being able to see everybody in the crowd now and then. Of course, it's nice to not be able to see the end of the crowd at one of these big festivals, but no, we're not scared of any of you. We'll look you right in the face.
I got this question from another passenger, Greg Gearhart, and it's for Dave. With over 20 rock legends on this ship, is there anybody who you would just love to have a short jam session with if you had a choice?
Well, I saw Don Felder last night. I thought he was phenomenal, right? I mean, wow. He sang the Eagle stuff last night, you know, leads, by himself, and it was great. As a guitar player, it's phenomenal. I think. I just bought one of his guitars a couple of weeks ago, so I'm anxious to talk to him. And I did. I bought his white double neck. You know,
He buys new guitars every week.
a white double neck. Yeah. Signed too. He signed it.
All right, well, let me see if I can make that happen. Don Felder, you in the house?
Is he?
Is Don Felder here? He's going to join us. If Don Felder is here, can you come on out? We've got somebody who wants to... there we go. Don Felder, everybody.
I'll put him in.
Don, we don't have a chair for you, so.
All right, so Don, Dave was at your show last night. He bought one of your guitars,
Unbelievable.
and I understand that as he can now play with you because he bought one of your guitars. Okay?
I did it on purpose.
Dave can play with me anytime, anywhere. As a matter of fact, we got to figure out a night you can come sit in with me.
I love
would
that.
love to do that.
I
Any of
love
you guys are welcome to come sit in if you
Love
want.
that.
You know? It's just an honor to be here with these guys. I've known these guys directly and indirectly, literally, Kevin and the guys, for decades, and have admired not only them as musicians, but known them as personal, just wonderful people. And it's just an honor to be here on this ship, making music together for you guys.
Can I say, if you guys haven't seen Don's show, catch him this weekend. I saw it last night. It was phenomenal. Guys, see, unbelievable.
And the fact that Don is up here with us is not even a slight clue as to our super secret summer tour. So don't read anything into that.
Well, what happens is
Total coincidence.
What happens is C stays at C. So it's no big deal. No, sir. But speaking of guitars, mutual friend between Don and REO is the band Styx. And
Again, no clue whatsoever to what may or may not be happening later this year. Just want to be clear about that.
for 2018, you're talking about.
Right.
Well, Don joins us direct from the desert, where last week and the week before he was in residency at the Venetian Hotel. And get this, it was a night of Styx and Don Felder, but Don's backing band was Styx.
No, I should say, I got the opportunity to actually play guitar in the Styx band. That's what it was. We did some Eagles songs, we did Styx songs. We had so much fun together. I have to tell you, we toured in 2014 together with Foreigner, Styx, and myself. And we just became family. You know, those guys are so great, so much fun. On the nights off, with all 90 of us in the bands and crews and truck drivers would go to a bowling alley and just take over the place and bowl and have fun. And I'm proud to say I came in somewhere near the bottom of the score list nearly every night. But we'd play golf together, we'd have dinners together. It was really a very warm, kind of fun family tour. And I was really sad when it ended, and had made a lot of friends. And Styx and I, during that time, Tommy Shaw would come out and sit in and play on Hotel California, do the harmony part, which I'm going to try to get you to do one night. And then I would sit in and play on a couple of Styx songs. We just had fun playing with each other. It was just a ball to do it. And then when this idea came up in Las Vegas at the Venetian, we went, well, instead of having two bands and you sit in on a couple of my songs and I sit in on a couple of your songs, just the set moving between one band setup and the next, we'd have to have an intermission, which would have made a really long show. So we decided that we'd just go in blind. I sent them about 6 or 7 songs, 9 songs of mine to learn, and they sent me like 5 or 6 of their songs to learn. So we all did our homework and walked onto the sound stage in Vegas at Venetian one day before the shows, and I was like, I hope we're funny. I hope we can do this, you know? And it turned out that everybody was so well prepared and had rehearsed so well that it just came together just seamlessly. And those guys sing unbelievably well as individually their musicianship is just astounding. So I had a ball, and it gave all the Eagles songs like just a more aggressive, kind of fun rock and roll edge than what you hear on the record. So it was just a delightful thing to do, and I really enjoyed it, and I think they did too. We sold out 5 nights there, so I guess the audience liked it as well.
Well, in talking with JY the other day, he actually said that it meet and succeeded his expectations. And so, speaking guitars, Dave, do you collect guitars? Are you a collector?
Yes.
Okay, well, certainly Don is, and I understand that JY has certain guitars made by a certain individual, and you actually asked JY if it was okay for you to reach out to his guy to make you a guitar or two. So.
Yeah, JY has this guitar that's very unique in that it's got this thing called a Sustainiac in it, and you can flip octaves, and it's just wired and built a certain way, and he has this guy build them custom for him. I've admired it. I've even tried to have somebody in LA build me one like that, unsuccessfully, I might add. So I kind of went up with all due respect and said, would it be okay if I were to talk to your road guy and your manufacturing and get a JY guitar for myself, because I love the sound. I'm not going to be able to rip you off and go out and play your stuff, but I'd just like to have one of those guitars. And he was flattered that I would asked to do that. And so we're in the process of putting together one of his custom guitars for me, and I'll choose colors and all sorts of stuff like that. So I'll just learn 2 or 3 exact solos like he plays on the record. The next time we do something together, I'll come out on stage and play it just like he does. And
If
I'm certain
JY
he'll get
suddenly comes down ill, you may be a suspect, Don. I'm just saying, you might want to, keep it on the down low here,
And Dave, what was it that made you go out and buy that signature Don Felder guitar? I mean, obviously it's iconic, it's beautiful to look at. I'm not a guitar player, but what was it that?
Well, I was in Vegas just doing this, playing with this other thing, some friends of mine, and they had Don's signature guitar there, and he signed it, and it was, I think, Don, you made 50 of those double necks, and it's number 46 of his signature model. And I have a couple of Gibson double necks, but his is just way above the other ones. So I played it at the thing, and then I tracked it down to Gibson, and so I'm a Gibson endorsee. So I was in Vegas, and like the endorsement room, they had there in Vegas. So I tracked it down there, and I just called Gibson and said, I got to have this guitar. So they sent it back to Nashville, and they cleaned it all up, and they sent me all the thing, and it's the best double neck ever. I've got 4 double necks, Gibsons, and his it's spot on that you played in the Eagles, and it's yours, and they put all the blemishes on it and all the nicks, and it's just it played like butter. It played like butter, and I just had to have it, and I tracked it down, and I pursued it and got it.
So what is it, Davey? What is it that makes Don's guitar special compared to the other double necks? It's the action, the sound,
the whole thing. The action, the tone. I love the white. It was the action of the 12-string. Well, both, and the 12-string was the best 12-string action. It just playability. It just played so easy, even on the 6-string, and he's got a couple of special things that you put in it, like the extra thing, but it just sounds and plays fun. I don't know what's in it. I mean, that's your special sauce, but it's no, really.
But hey, Dave, how do you fit it in the case if it's got 2 necks and the case only has
Well, he had
one?
some special Don Felder case.
You have to have a special Don Felder case.
Special sauce.
All right, well,
Just for these folks, Dave has about, how many guitars do you think you have?
Well, 120 or something.
120. You got 120. Huge collection.
Yeah.
it's an expensive hobby, but
Yeah,
you know how to do what you have to do.
Yeah.
I have to let REO Speedwagon go, so my last thing for them is I'm going to put them on the spot, or maybe you'll just kind of join me in a round of applause in saying that it does not go unnoticed that they are not well recognized and deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So, on that note, I'm gonna let REO go. They're gonna be on deck tonight, so check them out. Don's gonna stay here for a little while. We're gonna chat with him, so hang tight. So again, Neil, a pleasure. Kevin, I didn't make you talk. You're the one who volunteered. So, Bruce, Dave, Brian, Dave, real pleasure. Thank you very much. REO Speedwagon. Folks, there's going to be opportunities for them to do this later in the ship, and we have a tight schedule, so if we can let them leave. Thank you. Don, if you stay put, you and I will just chat for a few minutes here.
I will.
Great. All right, thank you again. And folks, just sit tight. Don Felder and I are going to chat now for a little while. Okay. Thank you all very much. Don, have a seat. There you go. How you been?
I've been really super busy, which is really great, to be able to play as much as I can, when and where I want to, and still, I figure like if I can just keep myself busy, I won't notice the years rolling by, and I'll just keep playing,
Yeah. Well, you were fantastic last night, despite the hour and change delay. I know. I actually saw you backstage very early on, and I'm like, okay, show must be getting close. And then I saw the band and the line checks, and it just went on. And not for your band's fault, just because of backup with equipment, things of that nature. But it was a fun show. I know you had to trim the set list a little bit, so I'm sure there's going to be some nice surprises in store for the next few performances that you have.
Yeah, we usually do about 90 minutes, somewhere between 90 and 120 minutes, depends on really what they want. And so last night we had to lop 4 songs out of our set just to tighten it up because there were people waiting outside for the next show, and we thought we'd be courteous and kind of cut our set short and let us get off the stage. The crew set up for the next band, and the band get on before it got really late in the night. So as much as I didn't want to cut those songs, I thought it was just the right thing to do. I want to say something about the double deck. It's really flattering that Dave would have chased that thing down and bought it. And then he told me about it last night in the bar after the show. But if I had known 40-something years ago, when I actually wrote the music for Hotel California and played 16 guitar tracks on the record itself, that I would have to be lugging that beast around for 40 years, I think I would have written something differently, Thing weighs a ton. It's as heavy as 2 guitars, and it's cumbersome and kind of big. And I think my back problems are a direct result from playing that guitar for 40 years. But anyway, it has really become an iconic piece that's kind of identified with Hotel California, and I could just walk out on stage with it, and people know exactly what song is coming.
A song, by the way, we were talking of milestones earlier with REO celebrating 50 years. Congratulations, Hotel California. I know you're very proud of this. 40 years.
Yeah, that's right. It's really an honor to be a classic. A classic in anything. A classic car, a classic rock musician, a classic songwriter, whatever. It's just an honor.
I was talking with John, our sound engineer at the top there. You did this interview with me on the Rock Legends Cruise 3, and that same year I also interviewed Paul Rodgers and Alice Cooper, and they got talking, and they talked about a sound that identifies them, and for Alice Cooper, it was the sort of marching beat to, was it School's Out, John? Was that it? School's Out. And so, if I had to put that question to you, is there a sound that immediately identifies, or a song that immediately identifies Don Felder? What would it be?
Well, most of the records that I played on the Eagles albums, I played one of two things. Primarily a Les Paul, my 59 Les Paul, and an old 57 Tweed Deluxe amp, and it just has a certain sound and resonance, whether it's on One of These Nights or on Hotel California, those solos, and it's just, people say, what kind of pedals did you use? What was it? It's just a guitar plugged into an amp and turned up to 10 and put a mic in front of it, and that's just the sound. As a matter of fact, when Joe and I would be together, Joe would have a really interesting, Strat sound with a Echoplex and an amp, and he'd play it, and it'd just sound great. And I'd go over and pick up his guitar, and I'd play it, and it wouldn't sound like that. It would sound like me playing Joe's guitar. It wouldn't sound like Joe, and so I think a lot of the sound that comes out of instruments comes from the hands of those that actually caress the instrument and play the instrument.
Something struck me last night. I was watching you perform, and I got to thinking, did you have to, this is kind of 3 questions into one, well, 2.5, I'll get to the half later. Did you have to relearn the songs from a lead performer's perspective? In other words, because you had done them, with other lead singers, so I guess your role in them was a little bit different. Did you actually have to relearn how to do them to be the man front and center? Does that make sense?
No, it does. Yeah, that's actually a good question. Yeah, it was a bit of a challenge. I'd always been a front man in my other bands.
Yes.
When I first got to LA, I was Crosby Nash, playing with them. I was doing Stephen Stills' parts, kind of singing and playing Stills' parts on a lot of those CSN records. And it was really one of the first bands where I was kind of just put as a guitar player and a background singer, which is fine. because there were just amazing singers in the Eagles. I mean, Don Henley to me has probably one of the greatest rock and roll voices, so identifiable, his pitch is impeccable, writing is sterling, and just, he's an amazing talent. Glenn Frey, rest in peace, had a very unique, kind of very warm, attractive voice about the sound of his voice and his writing, and Meisner singing "Take It to the Limit." There were just really great lead voices in that band, and so I was very happy to step back, let these guys do their thing, and just build tracks around them, write music for songs around them, come up with parts on albums that I didn't write with them, but that I played guitar parts on, and just kind of be an enhancing element to what we were doing together. Everybody brought a very special part and piece to that band, whether it was songwriting or vocals or guitar parts, or it was a kind of a magical combination of a lot of different special interests that were brought to that thing that fit together in a really unique, beautiful way and made really wonderful records together. I enjoyed it. It was fantastic.
And then from the vocal presentation standpoint, because we all probably do this, we hear a song on the radio, whether it's a Bob Dylan or whomever, and we kind of imitate the way they sing. So now, putting your own stamp, is it tough not to imitate a Don or a Glenn or a Randy?
I wish I could sing like Don Henley. I think he's got a great voice. I wish I could imitate him and sound like him, but it's like when I do a song for Stevie Ray Vaughan. I do Pride and Joy in my show on occasion. I don't try to sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan. I don't want to sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan. I don't want to kind of mimic or copy or imitate somebody. If I'm going to do that song, I'll do it as a salute to them, and I'll play it the way I would play it. You know, I want to sound like me. My voice is going to sound like me. My guitar parts are going to sound like me. A lot of the sound you hear on the records, on the Eagles records that I brought to the thing is just the way I sound. I couldn't try to sound any different. So if I go out and sing these songs, which I wrote and co-wrote and toured and recorded with the band for the 27 years I was in the band, I have to just sound like me and hope that people enjoy it, you know?
And then for the half part here, Ronnie Wood tells this great story about how one time they're on stage with the Stones and he kind of wanders up to the teleprompter and he sees the lyrics and he goes, "Oh, that's what he's been singing all these years. Never knew." Has there been a moment in any of the songs where, "Oh, that's what that lyric was. I never knew because I'd be back here playing my parts"?
Oh, well, no, I've heard those lyrics for, decades, and unfortunately, if I'm singing the song and I mess up a lyric in a verse, everybody knows it, because everybody knows all the lyrics to every song. In the middle of Take It Easy, if you sing, "Standing on the corner in Tucson, Arizona," people go, "What?" You mess up. So I do my best to try to know the lyrics and sing the lyrics and not really perform something that's not really on the record.
Well, and here we are in 2017, and like REO, this is your first interview under the new administration, so congratulations.
Okay. Yeah.
You are, I understand, in the studio working on a new album.
Yeah, I constantly write. I'm surprised I don't get tickets from driving down the freeway in LA singing into my phone, song ideas, or I always have instruments around, so if I get an idea and it's watching a television show and I hear an orchestral transition or a progression and I quickly pick up a guitar and stop, rack it up and figure out what that is, I'll record it and just put away these little pieces of song ideas, lyric ideas, sit on planes with headphones on and try to write lyrics and stuff. So I'm kind of constantly always doing it. It's just hard to find the time, a block of time to go into the studio and take these ideas and breathe life into it, because you really never know what little basic idea, whether it's in business or you're coming up with an invention or a song idea, you really don't know what's going to happen with that idea until you breathe life into it, kind of see it come to life, and you go, "Well, that's not quite how I envisioned. Let's put that one away and send it to the digital heaven and erase it and go away." But so I do that all the time, and I finally got 7 tracks almost finished now that I'm going to try to complete. As a matter of fact, while I'm in my cell here in soul isolation, I've got my laptop And I'm sitting there with these tracks, writing lyrics and singing into my iPhone so that when I get back to my studio, I can play these ideas back and sing them in the studio for real. So I'm trying to use this time to be productive where I just can't, go out and hang out.
And lyrically, do you need the music for you to then approach the lyrics, or do you keep a notepad? Some artists I've told me over the years, yeah, I keep a notepad, and if I hear somebody say an interesting phrase, I write it down. You never know.
Yeah, things just either run through my mind that I write down, or I hear somebody say something, or just a catchphrase or an interesting description that somebody says or you come across, and I make little notes of that, because when you get to a point in a song where you need something unique and a way to say it, a lot of times you've already stumbled across it, and you just need to find that and plug it in. There's also a great program, if anybody's songwriters here, called Master Writer. It's developed by a friend of mine out of Santa Barbara, and it goes on your laptop. You can load in your basic instrument tracks, or you can record instrument tracks into it, and you can sit with a word processor that's part of this program, and you can write lyrics. If you get stumped, it's got a rhyming dictionary, it's got a thesaurus in it, it's got world commonly used phrases. You can say, oh, I need something to rhyme with this word, and go over and hit rhyming dictionary, and there's like a list of 50 words. It's a very helpful kind of tool for anybody that's writing anything, not just music, if you're writing poetry or anything like that. So I use that, and it's kind of a way of saving the brain cell of racking your brain trying to find a word that rhymes with life and wife and other words that aren't common words like that. So it's a great tool. Master Writer.
Does it have a word to rhyme with orange? I understand that's the one word you can't rhyme with.
Well, I heard orange is the new black anyway, so.
And is this something we may see this year, or regarding the album?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Is it something we may see this year? Or?
Oh, yeah, no, I would expect, with any luck, if I find enough time, to finish it by early spring, or late spring, early summer, in time for this tour that's not going to happen.
Right, okay, cool, good, very good. Yeah, well, that'll give you some time to spend over the summer working on your golf game and everything.
That's
since you're not
right,
gonna
yeah.
be on the road. And a DVD, I understand you may have in the works as well. That's what I was
Yeah,
saying.
we shot a DVD in Vegas. I think that was aired on Access TV. It was 2014, part of that Foreigner 6 tour. And we're packaging it to be a DVD that we can sell either online or Amazon or at shows that aren't part of that tour. But it'll be available as well.
Oh, cool. We talked about Hotel California celebrating its 40th anniversary. The solo on that classic song has just been deemed the third greatest guitar solo by Classic Rock magazine, and only topped by two other guitars who are not too shabby. Stairway to Heaven being number one, of course, with Jimmy Page, and Comfortably Numb by Floyd with David Gilmour at number two. So, I mean, that's quite an honor, and the fact that this song has just inspired so many generations now. I mean, we're not talking just folks, we're talking generations, 40 years, a long time. When you say you come up with these instrumental parts, that was the key to that song. What was it, the opening? Was it the solo part? What did you come up with first?
I came up with the initial progression, which I was playing on a 12-string guitar, sitting on a sofa in this rented beach house in Malibu. I think it was 75 or something, and I had a cut-off shorts and a t-shirt, and I had two young kids at the time that were out playing on this swing set on the sand on the beach, and the sunlight, the California sun was glistening on the Pacific, and it was just one of those stellar, beautiful days, and out came that progression. And I played it 3 or 4 or 5 times, and my little 1-year-old daughter's bedroom used to serve as my demo studio. So when she was awake, I'd go back there and record, and when she had to go to sleep, I'd turn it off and go. So I went back and recorded about 4 or 5 times through that progression so I wouldn't forget it. If I don't record something the next day or so, it just kind of isn't as fresh. It's like a dream that you had 2 days ago, and you go, now I kind of remember something was weird in that dream, but I don't remember exactly what it was. So if I don't record this stuff, so anyway, I went back and recorded on this reel-to-reel tape recorder, and as we got to looking for song ideas for what was going to be the Hotel California record, I went back into my daughter's little bedroom and played all these other ideas. One of them became Victim of Love, was another one of those just throwaway ideas that I made a demo of. And when I heard that little jangly 12-string part, I had this thing called a roll-in rhythm bass. You used to see guys sitting in like bars playing piano, and they had this little drum machine that had a cha-cha beat and stuff on it, and so I found a beat that was kind of tempo that was close to a reggae thing, and I played this drum track and played the acoustic guitar and wrote the bridge part to it, and then I started overdubbing bass and guitars and pretty much made the track as close as it is today, with the exception of a few Walshisms on the end, I guess is the way to put it. As a matter of fact, we got in the studio to record this song, and I always thought that Joe and I would just set up on a couple of stools in the control room, a couple of electric guitars mic'd out in the studio, and we would, like we had done before with Joe Walsh and Friends, if you ever go on YouTube and look at any of that stuff, we would just play and jam and push each other and just have fun doing it, It kind of raised the bar, and somebody else would raise the bar, and, as we played together, it was just really fun. I was hoping we could do that on that record or on that track on Hotel California and just have that recorded. Well, so I sat down in my little back bedroom and recorded a guitar part that I said, well, I'd play something like this, and I'd put that guitar down, and I picked up, and Joe would play something kind of like this, and then I'd answer with this, and I kind of put together the basics of what that solo on the ending was. And we got in the studio a year later to record those guitar parts, and Joe and I are sitting there just going at it, having a ball, recording, and Henley had been out at Frank's phone booth talking to some beautiful woman, and finally came back in, and he said, what are you doing? I said, well, we're recording the guitar solos in the end of this record. He says, no, that's not right. You got to make it just like that tape you gave me. I said, I have no idea what that was. That was a year ago that I recorded that and just made it up as like a demo idea. He says, no, you have to record it like that. So I had to call my housekeeper in my house back in California, have her go through my cassettes, find the cassette, put it in a blaster, play it and hold the phone up to the blaster. We recorded it in a studio in Miami, and I had to go out and sit down and learn something that I had just thrown away and made up. Literally the first pass is just a sketch idea, note for note. And that's kind of what you hear on the record, is that just initial shot from the hip.
Good thing she was home. Could have changed the course of history right there. I ask all the, I didn't ask REO what their feelings are about it, but there have been artists that I have asked, what do you feel about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame not including you? I don't think I've actually ever asked anybody, and I was there then for that induction ceremony and stuff, and I interviewed you guys right before it, but, I am sitting here with a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In 2016, he was honored by the Musicians Hall of Fame in Nashville. But what did that whole experience of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame feel like?
I have mixed feelings about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's really a gracious honor to be acknowledged by the people in your industry and awarded with such an honor. I have suggested to the people there, because I've done a lot of fundraisers and benefits for the Rock Hall. I think it's a great organization, but they need to categorize their applicants. Like if you look at the Grammys, they have Best Pop Group, they have Best Country Act, they have Best Rap Act, they have Best, Instrumental Orchestral Piece, and it's categorized, and it's hard when you have bands like Foreigner, who's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, who has this amazing catalog of hits, 40-something year history, REO, 50 years, tons of hits, massive following, and yet people like Donovan, they call me Mellow Yellow, or just Donna Summer, which is great. They're great artists, but when you think of the Rock Hall, it's kind of the wrong category. And to deny great rock bands like REO and Foreigner, which should be in the Rock Hall, I have mixed feelings about it. And I've made my humble suggestions, but I made those suggestions after I was inducted, because I was afraid I wouldn't be asked otherwise.
Well, I'm sure it's down on record, and It's I think they're starting to finally listen. So fingers crossed. When you set out from Gainesville, Florida, and this, I won't get into the story like I did 2 years ago with the amount of folks there of Bernie Ledden, Stephen Stills, Tom Petty, Dwayne Allman was kind of around that area. It's mind-boggling, and mind-boggling in the fact that they're all also, again, members of this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But was your goal to be a member of a successful band or a solo artist? What was your goal in setting out on your way from Gainesville?
Well, I from the time I was 10 years old, just fell in love with music. I just was obsessed with it. I was raised really dirt poor. I don't know if anybody's read my autobiography, but when you come from nothing, you have nothing to lose. You can try anything in the world, and you can only be so poor. You can only, be so unsuccessful at anything, and so you try anything. So I hitched my dreams to being in the music business, not for fame, not for wealth, not for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, none of that, just because I loved music. And it sort of led me through this course of starvation and different parts of my career. But it wasn't about, having big houses and fast cars and recognition. It was just about loving to play music. That's why I'm here today, because I love to play music.
Well, as we bring this to a close, because unfortunately we have to clear the stage here in a minute, but 2017 is a milestone year for you. I don't mean to embarrass you, because you look tremendous for a man who is going to celebrate a 7-0. Do you feel, have you accomplished what you've set out to start, or are you just still starting?
I think music has been my number one love of my life. I've been through marriages, a marriage, and relationships, and music has never abandoned me. It's never brought me anything but joy and happiness. And so I would like to spend the rest of my days and health doing what I do the best, or that I enjoy the most. It brings me the most satisfaction. And I obviously don't need the money. I don't need the travel and all the stuff that goes along with it. But for the hour and a half or 2 hours that I'm on stage, my day is absolutely fulfilled and happy. So that's what I do.
Well, Don Felder, again, I really appreciate you jumping in here and spending some time. It's great to see you again. It sounds like you got a very busy year between a tour that's not going to happen, a new album, a DVD. Anything else you want to touch, let us know about? You do a lot of charity work, as you mentioned.
I do tons of charity work. I love to spend what talent and time and energy I've got in the way of free time raising money for those people that need help, whether it's children with autism or cancer research or St. Jude's Children's Hospital or the Native American Indians here, whatever it is.
Well, that's great. And again, Don Felder, tonight on the deck stage at 7:45. Tomorrow you get a break, and then you're back on Sunday, actually right here on this stage at 5:15. Don Felder, everybody.